All right, my man. We got your 2 video clips synced up here to when the ball's coming out of release. We'll let you watch this 2 times, and then we'll dive into the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter, and then we'll use some big league videos to help illustrate our point, and then we'll provide you with some drills at the end so you can start working on these adjustments. So that note that we provided for you is just establishing some momentum earlier in your delivery. And what we're going to do to look at this, we're just going to kind of draw a line right through the center of your body to the best of my ability on my trackpad here. And we're going to do a couple more just to help us see motion and movement. So that should be good enough, and we can do one back here as well. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video nice and slow during your leg lift. And we're just going to kind of note where your body is at and how your body is just kind of still there, still there, still there. Now the leg's coming down and your body is still there, still there, still there, still there. And now we have finally begun to gain some ground and some momentum to our target. I would like for you to think about from like right here to here during this part of that leg lift, having this entire body start to gain some ground to the target. So that way, once that leg does start to come down, the body is just already free flowing to the target. Versus us having to like kind of hunch a little bit, having to really sink down. Yes, we definitely need to engage our legs. We definitely need to get that back leg bent. But we're doing almost all of the bending first and then all of the reaching and extending out second, versus trying to blend those two together to really help us accelerate down this mound. So if we then got some big league videos that are from that side view as well, and we get them all back to the beginning. All right, and we go that same kind of thing. And let me draw some lines here again. I know they're not the straightest, but that's not the most important. Just being able to see that motion. So once it gets to that slow-mo here, we'll see as that leg is coming up, we're going to start to see that body drift forward just ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. Gain some ground towards that target. So that way when the leg does start to come down and our body starts to go down, we've already gained some ground and can continue to gain ground while we do so. We drop him down. We'll pull Jordan Hicks up. We'll slide him over to about right there. And we'll do the same thing. We'll see a guy that has even less of a leg lift is still trying to find ways to get just a little bit of momentum. Just a little bit of momentum going towards that target early to help move his body down that mound. We get to the next guy, Spencer Strider. We can do that same thing. Kind of get those lines over him there. Just that little bit of momentum before we really sink into that back leg. Abner. It's that same thing, just that little bit of momentum. Getting my body to go forward. Getting that upper body to start to go forward. So when that leg comes down, the rest of the body can just accelerate down that mound. everything else that you do in your pitching delivery is pretty darn good. We got a good leg lift. It's fighting to stay closed as it goes down the mound. We get the weight, like I already said, in that back hip well. Our glove is finishing in a good position. Our arm is getting to a safe spot in which we're going to rotate and throw. And things come through well. The one thing I could also note that I didn't put in your actual notes here is that we could just get our legs a little bit more involved in this delivery now that I'm watching it even more and more in depth than I originally did when I made the notes. And we just kind of look, really hitting toe first here, which tells me we could probably get this stride a little further. Guys that get sometimes too far of a stride are landing heel first, and often guys that are getting too short of a stride are landing toe first. If we could just reach this leg and reach this leg a little bit more, our legs are going to get more engaged in our throw. So I'll not only provide you some drills that's going to help you get some momentum going earlier in your delivery, but I'll give you some drills that's going to help you learn what this feels like to rotate, what this feels like to rotate, so we can get them to rotate out more. So just a quick example of that would be just kind of looking at these guys as they're getting their front foot into the ground. How it's a lot more flush. And then how we can see a lot more of a reach with this back leg. We go to another guy that's side. Right before his front foot hits the ground, we can see how it's more flush going on the ground. And that gets more of that reach in that back leg as well. We'll see the same thing here. Right before it gets in the ground, it's getting a lot more flush. Then we can see that reach of that back leg again. And then our final guy with Strider, we'll take him back as well. We're going to see Strider is closer to that heel first, but the rest of the foot gets really in there. And we can see just how far this stride is of him compared to his body height. Kind of showing, again, how I said guys that really reach out there with super far strides or strides that might be too far for them are heel first. Striders, we're not saying that stride's too far for Strider, but it is definitely very long. But we can again see once that does get in how we get that reach in that back leg, because that back leg has been sending us forward. Your back leg really hasn't started to send us forward yet. It's just kind of rolling up onto the toes. And then that heel, or that, sorry, those toes touch the ground here. And then we try to really rotate that back leg. But we can't really go anywhere forward as we do that rotation forward because the foot's already in the ground. If we were able to do this rotation movement before this front foot was in the ground, then we would go further. Just like we see, these guys are doing the back foot rotation while this foot's in the air. And that helps them go further. Same thing over here. Rotating that back foot while this foot's still in the air makes our whole body go further. Look at that one last time with Gossman. Foot's in the air, back foot starts to rotate, and that sends the body forward more. Forward more. So even though I just marked the momentum part, we would also benefit from firing this lower half on time. And on time means before this front foot hits the ground. This drill here has got 3 progressions, stage 1, 2, and 3. 1's on the left, 2's in the middle, 3's on the right. Starting with stage 1, we're just getting ourselves about 1 arm's length away from the wall and just learning how to let our entire body fall or drift or lean into that wall as our elbow hits the wall. Then we move on to progression 2, where we start to get that leg lift involved. I'm using my offhand as a area for my knee to hit, so that way I can start to feel the knee hitting in relation to when my elbow is hitting the wall. In this drill, I'm trying to over-exaggerate it as much as I can, so I'm trying to have my knee touch my hand at the same time I'm feeling my elbow touch that wall. Once I get comfortable and confident with stage 2, I can move on to stage 3, where my body gets closer to the wall than it has been to start. I do that same leg lift like I was doing in stage 2, but now I let my body fall into that wall with that momentum as I do so. All right, we're gonna be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just gonna be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward, versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward, versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle's more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. All right, we got your 2 video clips here synced up to that moment of release. We will let you watch it 2 times here before we dive into the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter, and then provide you with some big league examples to help really illustrate that note. And then we will give you some drills at the end to help you begin working on that adjustment. So the note that we gave you was just establishing some momentum earlier in your delivery. And what that looks like is we're going to draw a couple lines here over your body just to help us. That's a terrible line. Draw some lines on your body here just to help see and track movement. I know they're not the straightest lines. That does not matter. We just want to be able to see your body moving as easy as possible. So, all right. What we're going to do is we're going to watch where does your body go in relation to the target during your leg coming up and your leg starting to go down. So we'll kind of go a little bit slower than slow-mo here. So we can just kind of see that your head is just staying right there. The leg is all the way up. The leg is going to start to go down, and the body is going to start to go down, 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 down. And right now we can say we finally started to see just a little bit of that head peep through that line that I circled in the middle. Right? We're finally starting to break that plane. And now we're going down and out to our target. What I instead would like for you to try is once this leg gets to about like right here and continues to lift to up here in this window of time of the leg lift, if we can start seeing that body go forward, we're going to be creating some momentum in our delivery that we can then use and accelerate down that mound to help us create power. The reason I'm mentioning this for you is because you already do so many things really, really well in your delivery. You got this nice high leg lift on a slight angle back. You're doing a good job trying to maintain that front leg closed and not opening early. It kind of looks like it opens early here, but it's just because your heel kind of skidded on the mound. It gets right back to being closed after. Our glove does a good job going through a lane. That's going to help keep our shoulders closed and not wanting to open up. That glove then comes in just like we want it to. So that way, by the time that front foot gets in the ground, our chin is looking over our shoulder right towards our target. Lower half is fired towards the target, providing us a good base for our upper half to rotate around with and deliver power. You do a good job trying to get this chest out in front through release. One thing that we're going to see and notice as we get better and more momentum down the mound, that's going to help our upper body be able to get further out at release. Instead of just being here, we'll be able to get out to here. And when that foot got down, we were up here, which means we're going to have all of that power to send our throw down. Right? I didn't mention that or note that in the beginning here, but because it's not something you need to actively work on, it's going to be something that we notice once we work on gaining that momentum. It'll be easier for your body to get out in front at release. So if we get some big league videos here to help illustrate that momentum, I got Kevin Gossman, I got Abner Uribe, and I got Jordan Hicks. All guys that throw hard and are very athletic like yourself. So if we go back, now that we got this slow-mo here, it's going to be a little bit easier to track. We'll do similar lines on Hicks. No, it's not the easiest to see. I don't know how to change the color of this marker. Excuse me. All right, and if we kind of just go through that nice and slow again, we're going to notice before that knee even gets to the top, we can see that upper body starting to slowly just ever so slightly drift. Just ever so slightly drift forward. So that when the knee does come down and the body continues to go down and out, we've captured that momentum. And with that momentum helping us go down the mound, as I just got done mentioning, it's going to help us get further out in front when that ball's coming out. All right, let's look at Kevin Gossman the same way with these lines. And when we get to the slow-mo, it'll be easier to see that that body is starting to ever so slightly just start to drift forward during that last 5-10% of that leg lift's height. Just starting to let that body drift forward. So as that leg goes down, he's captured this momentum and can accelerate that momentum. And with that accelerated momentum is going to come that ability to get out in front more through release, giving more power and better direction on our pitches. And then if I go one more with Abner Uribe, we'll be able to see very similar things as well, with that body just ever so slightly starting to drift or lean or fall. No, lean's not a good one. Drift or fall kind of almost out in front before that leg comes down. So that way, as the body is loading down, we're getting out just as much. So that way, when that foot hits that ground, we have momentum continuing to want to go forward to help us really get out in front through that release. Because like I said, everything else that you do in your delivery is very good, very strong, very clean. If we can just get some momentum earlier in your delivery, that's going to help us supply some extra power and make the arm feel like it doesn't have to work as hard to create that power. This drill here has got 3 progressions, stage 1, 2, and 3. 1's on the left, 2's in the middle, 3's on the right. Starting with stage 1, we're just getting ourselves about 1 arm's length away from the wall and just learning how to let our entire body fall or drift or lean into that wall as our elbow hits the wall. Then we move on to progression 2, where we start to get that leg lift involved. I'm using my offhand as a area for my knee to hit, so that way I can start to feel the knee hitting in relation to when my elbow is hitting the wall. In this drill, I'm trying to over-exaggerate it as much as I can, so I'm trying to have my knee touch my hand at the same time I'm feeling my elbow touch that wall. Once I get comfortable and confident with stage 2, I can move on to stage 3, where my body gets closer to the wall than it has been to start. I do that same leg lift like I was doing in stage 2, but now I let my body fall into that wall with that momentum as I do so. All right, Mr. Powers, we got your 2 videos here synced up to when that ball comes out of your hand at release. We're going to let you watch the video 2 times, and then we're going to dive into the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter, and then we'll give you some big league examples to really help you see what we're talking about with that note. And then we'll send you on your way with some drills that you can start doing at home, so that way you can start to practice these differences and come to practice next time already looking better than you are now. So that note that I have is just a pretty easy, simple one to understand, which is just keep a tall chest. So right now we can say we got a little hunch over, which isn't a problem. But what we're going to do is we're going to watch as this leg comes up from your waist or your hips to your shoulders. Right now we could say the shoulders are above the hips. We're going to watch and see where they go after that leg lift. So now here's the hips over here, and here's the shoulders over here. So we can say your shoulders are above your toes, and your waist now, or your hips, is above nothing. Before we were here, and then very quickly we get to here. So first we start tall, then we hunch over, and now watch what happens with our chest. Guess where it goes next? It goes back to being tall. It goes back to having those shoulders directly above that waist or those hips again. So this position here is the same position we started in. Bam. There we are, same position. So that means if we start in one position and then we move to another position, just to get back to that same position we started in, we could say that this movement here of getting bent over is a wasted or unneeded movement, because we don't stay there. We don't go to somewhere even more different after. We go right back to where we were before. So, excuse me. What we want to think about is keep a tall chest. Don't let your chest go down towards your knee or down towards the ground. As this knee comes up, it comes up to the chest. We don't want the chest to go down and meet the knee halfway. And that's what we can see is happening, is that your chest is going down and meeting your knee halfway. Instead, we want the knee to come up, not both to go in the middle. So, if I get you some big league videos from the front, let's use someone like Jacob deGrom and Devin Williams and Zach Gallen, Jared Jones. All right, Jared Jones's video did not start from the leg down. His leg's already up, but we can see he's tall here. And we're going to see as he comes to the target here, that chest stays tall. Shoulders are staying above the hips. They're not getting bent out over here and the hips over here. Because when that foot gets down, it's time for him to throw. His chest is tall. And it started tall. Started tall, stayed tall. we'll get another guy that is starting from that foot being down with Devin Williams. And we can see he's nice and tall. He's still nice and tall. He's still nice and tall. He's still nice and tall. Still nice and tall. Lands nice and tall. Let's get to another guy from the front. Oh, that's way progressed already. Anything different? Nope, sorry. Not the best example. Paul Skeens, we all know who that is. Starts tall. Camera moved a little bit. Shoulders are still tall. Shoulders are still tall. Shoulders are still tall above the hips. And that gets him out there. Everything else that you do in your delivery, dude, is really good. You got this good rhythm with your knee going up and your hand going up at the same time. That's cool. I like that. That creates some good rhythm in your body. You got this nice high leg lift. We just need to stay taller so that all those good things you do in the beginning can continue to be good as you go out and make this pitch. So that's your big thing to be thinking about, Mr. Powers. Just keep a tall chest. Don't let it hunch over while you're lifting that leg up. No hunching over like you see right there. We don't want that. We want to get in front of a full-length mirror where we can see from our feet to our head so we can work on our leg lift. We can work on how we're lifting it up, raising the knee versus raising the foot. We can be working on our good, strong set position, making sure we're not having to rock or sway back in order to get that leg up off the ground, but being already in a weight back position so that when the leg comes up, I'm strong and stable and I'm able to be aggressive. I'm not tipping to the base runner that I'm about to make my pitch. And instead, I get to lift my leg and be aggressive to the target right away. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. All right. I can't remember if it's Korte or Korte. One of my best friends I played college ball with, his last name was Korte. So I'm wondering if that's kind of how yours is pronounced, as Korte. So we're going to let you watch your video a second time here, and then we will revisit the notes that was provided at the beginning of your chapter here, and then we'll get some big league videos in there to help really illustrate and drive home our point. All right, two things I said for you. Time to start eating like crazy, and time to start lifting on the regular. Time to get in the gym. Time to start pumping some iron and get stronger. Reason being is because your mechanics are great. We just need to get bigger and stronger so we can start to throw harder and have a better engine for our body to run with. So we'll kind of real quick just use some big leaguers to highlight some of the things that you're doing well. And then we will... I'll say where's my other ones at. So we got 4 big leaguers from the side that we'll roll through real quick here, being able to show some things that you do similar to these guys. So the first thing that I like is your nice high aggressive leg lift while also getting this upper body to start to want to be going forward before that leg comes down, so that way you're getting some early momentum. We can see that with Abner, and we'll see that as well very easily with Jordan Hicks, how that body is wanting to gain some ground before that leg gets to its peak, so that way you got that momentum to get fired out with. As I said, we can see that with Hicks as well. As that leg's coming up, we can see that momentum just getting slowly on that other side of that line, helping him establish some early momentum. Same thing with Gossman, we'll see. It's probably the most extreme out of these 4 examples of that momentum. Next thing that I like in your delivery, we do a good job. Once that front foot's in the ground, really getting ourselves out through release, allowing our trunk to do a lot of that acceleration. We also do a great job of getting that glove into a nice tight position up against our body once it's time to rotate, with our chin over our shoulder, looking right down at that target. Lower half in a good base. Good clean finish, nice and relaxed. Everything's coming through with plenty of time to finish around. Everything's super clean, man. Let's just start eating like a madman. I was built just like you growing up. Tall, skinny, could see my rib cage, struggle to put on weight and muscle. But if you just eat all the time, not just when you're hungry, we should never feel hunger. If we feel hunger, we've lost the day. It should be wake up, stuff myself. And then, no joke, I packed 2 lunches every single day. 1 lunch I would eat between first hour and lunch. I would buy hot lunch and eat my second lunch at lunchtime. And if I couldn't finish something, I had then a snack to have between lunch and school getting out. And then as soon as I got home, I made myself a pre-dinner meal. Then I had dinner, and I made sure that Mom made enough food at dinner that there was leftovers that I could have second dinner after dinner before my pre-bed snack, right? Just eat all the time. And then obviously start to get familiar with the weight room. Whether you're using YouTube videos to learn how to do weights, or you have an older brother or a parent that can help you out, or you're asking a coach, or you're asking me, or you're getting a personal trainer to help you. But we got great mechanics. We got a great frame to be a pitcher. There's a lot of things that are very bright for your future on the mound. And it's only going to get brighter and more positive the bigger and stronger we get. All right. Got your 2 videos synced up to the moment of release. We'll let you watch this thing twice. And then we will revisit the note that was provided for you and use some big league examples to help illustrate that. And then get you some drills that you can start doing at home to help you gain the confidence and feel for what we're trying to accomplish here in our delivery. All right, and that note that we provided for you is, don't be afraid to be aggressive. What I mean by that is if we just kind of watch, once that front foot gets into the ground, you've done everything in your delivery to the best of your ability to create power. We did that with a nice high leg lift. We do that with a good alignment and posture of the upper body. We do that with the glove staying closed in this alley for as long as we can. And when it gets outside of that alley, it doesn't create a new alley over here. It gets right up into the body like we want it to. Once that front foot gets into the ground, our chin is looking over our shoulder right down at our target. Our lower half is fired and in a good, strong, sturdy base. Our arm is loaded into a good, strong, safe position. Everything that we've done up until this point has been ideal to create power and to have it get sent right towards our target, which means good command and accuracy. What we're going to notice as we now rotate this energy out in front, we do a good job getting out in front compared to where we started, using all of this to go down and forward. That head is still fighting to stay on that target. The glove is still staying locked on to the body so that we were not leaking any of that power or energy at the last second out towards first base dugout. But now what I want you to watch is from this moment that ball is out of your hand and we've gone from this alignment with the shoulders to this alignment with the shoulders, meaning they rotated 90 degrees, maybe 93 degrees now that we're at release. Watch now how the hips that also went 90-degree rotations, how the shoulders and the hips, now that they are in this alignment, here and here, watch how they kind of just stay there now. Yes, the shoulders went a little bit more, but the hips just kind of died out. Both here with it going not even with that front one. This one, again, we can see is behind that front one. And then it kind of just doesn't even land before it kind of twists back. So we just did all of this violent rotation, violent this rotation, which means it would need to continue in that type of path. Same thing with the hips, going here, here, here. So let's pull some big leaguers up, and let's look at the front view first. Devin Williams, Milwaukee Brewer. We'll get him progressed to that foot strike. Bam. Looks very similar to you when you get to foot strike. But now let's get him to release. We'll get you to, we'll get him back up. We'll get you to release. Okay. We got both of you guys there now. Let's watch Devin continue to, let's just say, the hand all the way across the body. And we'll get your hand all the way across the body as well. And we'll say you guys are in very similar positions. Now let's watch his back leg come up and around. Oh, the video stops here, but we can see how it's going to keep going around. Versus your back leg kind of just bleh. Kind of just bleh. Bleh. Versus things being able to continue around more. Let's get another front view. Oh, he ends early as well, so we can't get that one. Paul Skeens, we can use him. Let's get him over. Minimize Jared, so that way you're back up. Devin, bye. All right, so we'll take you back to the moment that your foot gets in the ground. Paul Skeens' foot in the ground. Very similar positions, chin, shoulder, glove. Chin, shoulder, glove. We'll get Skeens to about release. Boom. Get you to release. Again, very similar positions. Glove, head, chest. Glove, head, chest. And then Skeens' arm all the way across his body. Your arm all the way across your body. And then now we'll watch as the lower half continues to finish. Continues to finish. Versus dead. Versus dead. So let's then look at the side view, big league examples for a couple, and just watch how they're not falling over to first base. They're still balanced on that left leg that they landed on that stride leg. Bam, left leg in the ground. Left leg stays in the ground. Everything rotates around that leg. My leg gets into the ground, and I rotate around that leg. Let's get another guy, Jordan Hicks. Another guy that throws 100 miles an hour. Foot gets down. Now let's rotate everything around that front leg. Let's get another guy, Kevin Gossman. Front leg gets down, and then we rotate around that front leg. Okay, so when I say don't be afraid to be aggressive, that's what I'm referring to. Don't be afraid to let that aggressiveness continue to go after you let go of that ball as you're slowing your body down. Don't feel like you got to go from 100 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour right away. Allow yourself to slow down by continuing that rotation for a little bit longer. Because everything else that you do in your delivery is great. So then it's just time to gain some weight by eating like crazy and starting to lift some weights. Because the more mass you have with your good mechanics, the more gas you're going to throw with. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. But what you can still see is that back foot is pointed into my front foot, showing that my back leg is fully rotated. We got your 2 video clips here synced up to the moment of release. We'll let you watch it 2 times here. And then we will use some big league examples to help illustrate the note that was provided to you at the beginning of your chapter. And those notes that we provided at the beginning of the chapter for you was stay tall and then finish down. Stay tall is in the beginning, finish down, obviously finish would be the end. The stay tall is going to help get you going, and the finish down is going to help send your power out in front. So what we'll do is we will watch mostly the side video for this first part here for the stay tall. What I want you to notice is as this leg's coming up, your body is already just leaning backwards, getting further away from where we have to go. And then now by the time we do start to have the ability to start going forward again, we're on this such drastic tilt back angle that we're not able to generate momentum down the mound. And by the time your front foot hits the ground, our legs have done absolutely nothing. At this point in time, that front foot hitting the ground, we need our lower half to have rotated forward. Meaning this back foot is rotated and turned over forward. This back kneecap is facing our target. This back hip has gone forward, so that way the belt buckle or these drawstrings aren't facing the same way that they always have been, but they've gone to the target. We need to see this front knee also rotate forward. The front foot get rotated forward, so that way they're going towards the target. Again, being able to see the belt buckle. Because you didn't stay tall and all you did instead was just lean and tilt backwards, the only thing your body really was able to do the rest of the time after that was just unlean and kind of just fall back to where we started. So now we're just going to unlean and just fall back to where we started. And now we got both feet basically facing the side here. And now we're going to try to throw with feet stuck in the ground in that position. And that's why when we then go to throw, the only thing that's happening with our upper body is it's basically just turning in place and then letting go of the ball rather than rotating forward. So we'll pause you there at the top of that leg lift. We'll get these 4 guys, or however many guys I got, at the top of their leg lift. And I'll show you what it means to stay tall. Top of the leg lift, he's tall. Top of the leg lift, he's tall. Top of the leg lift, he's tall. Top of the leg lift, he is tall. Noticing how none of these guys have their shoulders behind the pitching rubber at the top of their leg lift, but their back shoulder is more above their back foot, not tilting backwards. Okay. So that way then, because they stay tall and they're not leaning backwards, they get to go forward and watch the back leg here do all of this rotation while that front foot is still in the air. Here comes the back knee and the back foot going forward. And then that front foot is in the ground. Where's that belt buckle going? Towards that target. We get the other guy up here. We'll watch the same thing. Before this front foot gets in the ground, notice how this back knee is already starting to rotate. And then the foot's going to kick in shortly after. There's the knee, there's the foot, and now the front foot's in the ground. So by the time that front foot is in the ground, look at all of the rotation in the back leg, belt buckle going towards the target. Same thing with Strider. Right before that front foot hits the ground, the knee and the foot are going to rotate forward. The knee is already starting. The foot takes over, and then now the front foot in the ground, in the ground, in the ground. And we can see how much of that back leg is already rotated. Come to our final guy with Abner. See that back knee and back foot rotating before that front foot gets in the ground. So that way that belt buckle gets to the target. So we look at all of these guys as lower halves. And we can see one after the other, after the other, after the other, all look almost identical. And then we get to yours, and because we had all that lean back and couldn't get going forward, by the time your front foot hits the ground, it's done nothing. Your back leg doesn't get anywhere remotely close to what those guys look like until you're about to let go of this baseball almost. And that's why you release this tall. Ball's coming out of your hand right now, and you're at that angle only when you started at that angle. we get all these guys to release, and they're out here when they started up here. Bring him back to that same line. And when he gets to release, that ball's out. There's Strider. Get Abner to that same line right there. He gets to release. He's out here as well. Jordan Hicks, we get him to that line as well. When he gets to release, he's out here also. So if we want to throw hard and accurate and not have our arm have to work super hard where we're putting it at high chance of injury, we need to learn how to not tilt back during our leg lift, and we need to learn how to get going forward instead, so that way we can rotate our legs on time. So I'm going to give you a bunch of different drills for you to start working on so we can start cleaning up all of those things to help stay tall, to help finish down, to help get momentum going, and to help them legs rotate you down. All right, we're going to be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just going to be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward, versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward, versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle is more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. We want to get in front of a full length mirror where we can see from our feet to our head so we can work on our leg lift. We can work on how we're lifting it up, raising the knee versus raising the foot. We can be working on our good strong set position, making sure we're not having to rock or sway back in order to get that leg up off the ground, but being already in a weight back position so that when the leg comes up, I'm strong and stable and I'm able to be aggressive. I'm not tipping to the base runner that I'm about to make my pitch. And instead, I get to lift my leg and be aggressive to the target right away. This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward. Taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. If I was to have that front shoulder open up to the side and then I try to hit that, I'm going to miss that target, or just barely my elbow is going to hit it instead of the forearm. So this is a really good drill to learn how to rotate forward. Your two videos are synced up here to the moment that that ball comes out of your hand at release. We'll let you watch it 2 times here in a row before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we will use some big league video to help illustrate what we're talking about. And then we'll give you some drills that you can do at home to help start to work on these things. And the note that we have for you is we want that front foot down. Then it's time to rotate your shoulders to throw. Right now, that front foot's not quite getting down to the ground before your shoulders are starting to rotate. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch, and we will pause this video right when this front foot hits the ground. So if we go backwards, we can see right, bam, now that front foot's in the ground. Right, bam, now that foot's in the ground. And if we look, we can not only see the baseball and see your arms, but we can read all of the dogs on your t-shirt here. Why? Because your front shoulder is not facing the target anymore. Your front shoulder is opened up to the first base dugout, which now has brought your throwing shoulder forward and through early. If I pull up some big league videos here from the front, Jacob deGrom, Devin Williams, Paul Skeens, who else do we got from the front? Jared Jones. We will pause all 4 of these guys when their front foot gets into the ground, and we'll look and see how their shoulders are positioned. So, bam! Front foot is bam, bam, bam. It's in the ground. And guess what? Where's his arm? His arm's over here. We can barely see the G and the H in Pittsburgh because his shoulders are completely to the side still. Go back to you at this time, and we can see that difference. Your front foot's getting down, and your shoulders are already opened. Jared Jones' front foot getting down, his shoulders are still closed. So let's get another guy up, Devin Williams. His front foot is going to get, bam, in the ground. Bam, it's in the ground. Bam, it's in the ground. And where are his shoulders? His shoulders as well, completely sideways. Just like Jared Jones' shoulders were. All right, so let's get another guy up. Let's get Jacob deGrom. We'll do that again. We'll pause it when his front foot hits the ground, which may actually be right there. Bam. Right there, right there, right there. And look at those shoulders. Completely sideways still. Completely sideways. Just like Devin Williams. Jacob deGrom. And then who's our 4th guy that we got to see still? Paul Skeens. We don't want to pass him up. So we'll see that foot gets, bam, into the ground. And where are those shoulders going? Straight to the target. So that's what I mean when I give you that note of we want that front foot to get down in the ground first before any shoulders start to rotate. We want your upper body to be in this position here when that front foot hits the ground. Because this would be the same position that we see all of these guys in, right? Right now you look like Devin Williams. But Devin Williams' foot's in the ground. Yours is not. By the time your foot gets in the ground, your shoulders have already rotated there. So when that happens, we lose power, and we add a lot of stress onto our arm to make that throw, which is not the healthiest or safest thing for our arm long term. So this foot down, then rotate is the feel and the thought that you're going to want to have every single time you throw the ball, even in catch. This is not just a pitching thing. This is a throwing the baseball thing. So we're going to want to learn how to wait for that shoulders to rotate until the last possible second. You're not the only one. You and Mr. Harvey will both be working on this together because you guys both have the same thing that we want to work on, which is making sure that those shoulders don't start to rotate until after that front foot hits the ground. So we'll get you some drills here that'll help you with that. Because there's a lot of things that you do really good in this delivery here. You got a good leg lift. Your body's flowing. You got a good glove path here that's helping you not want to open up early. When the front foot does get into the ground, if we ignore all this upper half, everything that your lower half has done at this point in time is great. Your head stays on the target. You able to rotate out in front for that release. You got good finish. You got good balance in that finish. If we can just hold that upper body from rotating as quickly and as early as it is, we're going to throw harder, we're going to throw more accurate, and we're going to have a lot less stress on our arm while we do that. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. All right, Harvey, we got your 2 video clips here synced up to when that ball comes out of your hand at release. We will let you watch this 2 times before we dive into our note that we provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we will use big league video examples to help illustrate that point before we ultimately give you some drills that you can start working on at home to help you with this adjustment. So the note that we provided for you was getting this front foot to get down, then rotating your shoulders to throw. So what we'll do is we'll kind of put our focus on the front view video over here. And once this front foot gets all the way into the ground, we're going to pause the video. Bam. So we can see this front foot is hitting big time on the side of your foot. And then by the time the rest of the foot gets into the ground, how much your upper body is already rotated around. We want this front foot into the ground with the shoulders still in that same alignment that they have been this entire time. So two things are really occurring here. One, we're not rotating our front leg on time. And because of that, our upper body is starting to rotate through before that front foot gets all the way into the ground. So what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate the foot down first with the shoulders staying squared, okay? And we got these front view guys because we just got done working with Walmsley, who has very similar thing that they have to work on as you, which is making sure that this front foot gets into the ground while these shoulders are still completely sideways. So we see DeGrom here, shoulders just sideways, 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 foot's in the ground, they're still sideways. We do the same thing with Jared Jones. His shoulders are sideways, 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 sideways. That foot gets into the ground, and they're still sideways. They have not rotated yet. We get Devin Williams. His shoulders are sideways, 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 sideways. That front foot gets into the ground, and they're still sideways. Paul Skeens, same way. His shoulders are sideways. Front foot gets in the ground, and his shoulders are still sideways. So we kind of slide him over there like that and pull you back up. And we can see just those differences of your front foot. When it first hits that big inside part of your big toe, your upper body is still sideways. But because this front leg is not rotating at all, by the time it can get heel and the rest of your foot into the ground by rolling over, your arm is about ready to throw the baseball in the next 0.2 seconds. This is putting a tremendous amount of stress on our arm to try to throw this baseball. It is very drastically reducing our maximum power, and it's also hindering our ability to command our pitches on a consistent basis. So if we then go back with these front view guys and we watch how their front legs go from this side position like yours is in, right, we got all these guys now with their front legs very much like your front leg, right? And what we'll do is we'll get, who can we get? Let's get, let's continue to use Paul Skeens, since I'm sure you're most familiar with him out of those pitchers. So we'll take Paul Skeens a couple frames forward, closer to the ground. We'll take you a couple frames forward, closer to the ground, right? You guys are almost very similar positions with that front foot right now. But what we're going to see what Paul Skeens does is his whole foot now is going to get rotated to the target before it hits the ground. Bam. Bam. And now notice how the whole foot goes in the ground at the same time. Bam. It is not the inside part of the big toe like yours. Hits here, and then rolls. The whole body just opens up. Whole body just kind of flies open. And now here comes this arm getting flung away from your body, going this way, right? Your arm is getting flung out this way because your entire lower body has been getting ripped and pulled, that way. So when the lower body gets ripped this way, the upper body gets flung that way. And we're trying to send this power like Paul Skeens does forward, 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 forward. And yours is really going, if we drop this down, yours is really going out, out, out. The ball's getting released, like even with your knee, because we're not able to get out in front because we've been going so much to the side because that front leg's not rotating forward for us. And we know when we release the ball, if we just get one of these side view guys, look how far out in front these guys are at release. Right? If you look right in this area here, you're going to see that blur of that baseball. Look how far out in front he is at that release point. All right? That ball is, like I said, it's getting released like right here, out in front of that toe. Same thing with Abner. We can see that blur of the baseball is right here. We draw that down. Toe. Oh, I already used Abner. Gossman. Same thing. That ball is out somewhere in this area here. We go down from there. That's in line with that foot more. Right. Same thing with Jordan Hicks out there. So we want to be thinking about getting out at release. The only way we can get out at release is if that lower body gets out for us. And right now it's not at all. It's getting stuck. So I didn't mention we need to rotate that front foot on time, that front leg on time. But that's going to be the only way you accomplish foot down, then rotate my shoulders, is if this front leg gets rotated on time for you. So we'll provide some drills that are going to help both of those. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle's more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into, and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. we can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. All right, Mr. Boss. We got your 2 clips here synced up to when that ball comes out of your hand at release. We'll let you watch it 2 times here before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we will use some big league videos to help illustrate our points before we ultimately give you some drills that you can start doing at home to help you start to feel the differences in these mechanics. So we got 2 notes for you. The first one is use our lower body, and the other one is load my arm up. We're going to spend the first part here talking about loading my arm up. All right. And what this looks like is we're going to really focus on the side view video. The front view is not going to be very helpful for this aspect of our mechanics. And what we're going to do is we're going to pause this video once that front foot, bam, gets into the ground. And at this point in time, we're going to kind of draw some lines in our body from one shoulder to the other shoulder, from the shoulder to the elbow, and from the elbow to the hand. And what we can see or say from these lines is that our elbow is beneath our shoulders or lower than our shoulders. Okay? If I pull up some big leaguers here and we get them back to the beginning of each of their deliveries, and we now play them, and we'll pause them when their front foot gets into the ground, and we'll kind of compare their angles to yours. Right? So front foot's in the ground, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. That's Spencer Strider. Let's get another picture out here. Jordan Hicks. His foot's in the ground. And we're just going to kind of slide him over here so that way this front shoulder matches his front shoulder. And would you know it? We go from shoulder to shoulder to elbow to hand. Okay, well, that's just 2 guys. Let's get a third guy up here to see what's what. Kevin Gossman, completely different mechanics, completely different stature and build than those guys, but we get his front shoulder to that same spot, and we can see shoulder to shoulder to elbow to hand. The only thing that's changed is how long the distance is from shoulder to elbow. Obviously, guys with longer arms, it's going to be further away, or if the camera's further away or closer, that's going to have an impact on it. But what we can see is that that elbow is in line with that shoulder on all 3 of those guys so far. So let's go to our 4th guy, who, again, completely different delivery than those guys, completely different build than those guys. But what do we notice? We get to that front shoulder, and it's front shoulder to elbow to hand. So we then kind of bring back you up, and if we slid you then over to that front shoulder, we can then see how you go to front shoulder, down to elbow here, then up here. And you're the only guy that has this. So when we make that note of load my arm up, this is what we're referring to, is that instead of from this point in time here, where we do have shoulder to elbow, we have to now make sure from this position that we're in here that as this hand loads to get ready to throw, we don't have the elbow drop down as we do that, dropping down as the hand gets up. But we instead want that hand to stay here, or I'm sorry, that elbow to stay here as the hand comes up. Load my arm up versus basically loading it in place. So what we can watch here now is as we go to rotate, just how much this elbow gets lower than it is right now. See how it's going down? If we were able to try to go straight across here, we're going to notice how that elbow is going down to get that hand to come up. We instead want the hand just to go up on its own. So if we kind of come back and watch and notice, if we kind of do that same thing here, we're going to see how that hand goes up without that elbow having to go down. We're loading the arm up to throw. We are loading the arm up to throw versus the elbow dipping down to give the illusion that the hand went up. Loading the hand up to throw. A good kind of thought process is, and you guys are 13, so you guys are definitely probably learning angles in math already. Right here, from our armpit angle and our elbow angle, we're looking to have both of those angles be as close to 90 degrees as possible. And if we kind of look here, 90 degree, 90 degree. We come strider, we can see that same thing. 90-ish degree, 90-ish degree. Jordan Hicks, same thing, 90-ish degree, 90-ish degree, in through there. Same thing with Gosman. 90-ish degree angle, 90-ish degree angle. So we think about the same thing with you. We definitely have the 90-degree angle here in the elbow, but we're rocking like a 65 or 70-degree angle in the armpit. So we need to get this elbow up, which will get this angle in the armpit to a safer, better position. Okay. The second note is we got to learn how to use our lower body. When we're throwing the baseball, we don't do that with the arm. And we don't even do it just with the upper body. We do it with the entire body. And importantly, the lower body has to do its stuff first. Then the upper body does its stuff second. And we can see by the time this front foot gets in the ground, your back leg has done 0 movements. We need that back leg to have done like 85-90% of its movements at this point in time. If we go back to these big leaguers when their front foots are in the ground, just look at this back leg. And if we go backwards in time, look how much movement and rotation it's doing while we are on just that one leg. That front leg's not even in the ground. And look at all that rotation that back leg just did. Let's get to another big leaguer. Looking at that back leg and just watching how, before that front leg gets in the ground, all that rotation's occurring out of that back leg. Let's get another guy looking at that back leg. Before that front foot hits the ground, back knee, back foot, back hip are rotating for us. So we're going to have to learn how to rotate our legs, rotate and fire that back leg so that before the front foot hits the ground, we've used our legs to go forward. So we do that same thing with you. Foot's in the ground, foot's in the ground, foot's in the ground. Leg's not doing really anything. Now it's doing something. Now it's doing something. Now it's doing something, but it can't take you forward. Why can't you go forward? Your foot's in the ground already. Hard to walk forward if your front foot doesn't lift up off the ground. So now what we see, because this backside did not rotate on time, the shoulders and the hips are rotating at the same time. Every little bit that your knee goes, your shoulder goes. See that there? And that is how we put a lot of stress on our arm to throw. That's how we minimize how hard we can throw. And this is also how we have little control over where our energy gets sent out, meaning our throws just kind of go all over the place. So we got two kind of big things here that we want to work on to help keep our arms safe, which is learning how to use your lower body, and then even almost more important is making sure that arm gets loaded into a good, healthy, safe position. Something we can be doing at home for this arm is simply going into your bathroom, looking yourself in the mirror, getting your back up against the wall, pushing your elbows up against the wall so that way they're even with your chest. If you don't want to use your glove arm, you don't have to. Just keep that throwing arm, pushing that elbow into the wall, and just raise that arm up until it touches the wall. Up and down, nice under control, and just keep doing this until it burns so much you can't keep that arm up there no more, right? And if you're doing that, and as you're watching, you're noticing as you're in that wall, the elbow is going down beneath your shoulder as that hand's hitting the wall, we know we got to keep it up higher. And just keep doing this. Just teaching that body that the arm goes up here versus the elbow going down here. All right, we're going to be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just going to be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle is more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate.